In mid to late March, wetland birders see mostly overwintering waterfowl and shorebirds. Salt marsh is laid over and brown, but our hardy Alaskan tawak, Tlingit for goose, know where and how to find nutritious seeds and runners and buds. Earliest northbound migrants are trumpeter swans. Bob Armstrong and I just went out to check on them and meet with residents of Sunny Point. From zero tides to highest fringe of uplift parkland, Taashuyee-Chookan.aani, the M-word wetlands, has been the focus of intensive surveys. The core team of 3 senior naturalists has a collective 130 years of residence. Our down south partner, Andrew, here, is younger and faster, the Daniel Boone of Trimble runners. Our tidal wetlands and that encompassing former tideland are incredibly complex. Each of these 10 mapped habitats supports the annual cycle of foraging and resting waterbirds, both resident and migratory, and the habitats themselves migrate. In autumn 2023, Southeast Alaska Land Trust asked Bosworth Botanical to update their 20-year-old map and conduct functional assessments for 18 subunits. Have you looked at eBird lately? It's pretty amazing. Some of these eBird hotspots have thousands of uploaded checklists. Orange dots list more than 200 species. I only wish our ornitho hotspots were conservation ground zero locations. Each blue dot is a goose count, so lack of official hotspots isn't lack of data, only lack of guidance for birders informing conservation. If you bird Taashuyee-Chookan.aani, please nominate hotspots in key locations, the red question marks, and encourage your friends to count waterbirds there. 20 years ago, Bob Armstrong, Mary Wilson, and I counted birds for 14 months here. Bob and Pauline Strong organized 16 years of prior counts by master birders like Rich Gordon and Paul Sekanek. Their chart shows highest of anyone's counts for each species by week. In late winter, yellow columns, Canada goose counts actually dropped because arriving migrants, like lessers, couldn't offset gradually dissipating overwinter birds. Tawak, Canada goose, is likeliest to bring about a Hudson River-like incident at our airport. It's also one of our most beloved birds, the voice of the wetlands. In 2002, highest counts were near the runway. As those recent eBird numbers indicate, hundreds still graze off Dyke Trail. But in 2023 and 24, as many or more used Sunny Point and Vanderbilt intersection. Their favored sedge pastures are shifting east with glacial rebound. As with eBird, our 2002 mapping was primitive, displaying quote-unquote hotspots as points that really should be polygons. Here I've outlined areas observable from 2002 scope stations. Instead of scaling dot size, we color code. Darkest blue for highest goose count during full surveys with every station visited. But polygons spotlight an undersampled region. Birding here means long approach hikes and access through private land. On full surveys, we couldn't afford that extra walking time. Of course, hampered access is good for birds, freer from pushy photographers, off-leash dogs, even hunters in most isolated cover-free pockets. Undoubtedly, there were and remain way more birds in the data cap than implied by our old hotspot study and by contemporary eBird mapping. And have geese moved in 20 years? Here's January through March in the COVID years, 2020 through 24. Groups of 50 or more birds. Dot size scaled to largest count on each site. As in 2002, those Dyke Trail high tallies of 700 may have been the entire population, about where we plateaued on full survey days back in the hotspot study. Or maybe not. Who, for example, uses this enormous gap? Wetland access trails are dispersed and little used. Maybe the coolest discovery in our land trust rambles was the planarian, a mostly unreachable center channel island, and its relationship to East Hart Hendrickson Creek. Here's what I filmed at quarter-mile distance on East Hart mudflats in the middle of hunting season. Closer approach would have flushed these educated birds. Unlike most of Chookan.aani, grassy land, there's no place here for a hunter to hide. And if people or dogs do approach, the planarian's a quick half-mile flight. By November, tides low enough for us to walk happen only at night. The planarian, for now, is a waterbird's small r refuge from the capital R refuge. Of course, the Vander to 5-mile proposal terminates that isolation. Like our winter resident goose, Kinda-Chunate mallard is a danger to plains. Statistically, second likeliest species to bring one down. Obviously, we should know where they are. In hunting season, ducks and geese are chased all over Taashuyee-Chookan.aani, seeking those little hunter-free pockets, often putting planes at risk. These duck aficionados are far from the runway, dead center of our #1 hotspot from the 2002 study. Also dead center of where some envision an island-to-mainland expressway on the incomparably rich mussel barnacle rockweed community. Like our 2002 goose counts, mallards seemed to cluster at east and west ends of the wetlands. In reality, the center's just too danged hard to reach. eBird uploads from birders and fringing residents could start to rectify this. Meanwhile, our hot-off-the-press habitat mapping shows a mesmerizing mix of high and low marsh types traversed by braided tidal sloughs, a mix we associate with strong waterbird numbers and diversity in better birded locations. That orange-tinted sedge-low marsh, the duck and goose breadbasket, is migrating southeastward with glacial rebound. It'll slowly draw large, unwieldy birds away from aviation approach paths. Climbing out of tidelands, the entire proposed connector would need massive fill, burying the maze of ancient peatlands mapped by Bosworth Botanical back in 2014. Hydrologically, this cleft of the heart collects and conveys surface and hyporheic flows from dome bogs on east and west lobes that our intrepid sphagnum sloggers traversed on last summer's Land Trust members tour. To the deafening serenades of exasperated mom-and-pop yellowlegs. Amazingly, we even found an egg. After hatching, these precocious sandpipers head out to tidal sloughs and puddles for their first attempts at prey snatching. So let's finish with Sunny Point's unique salt marsh, overlooked by trailside birders who concentrate at Dyke Trail and Industrial Boulevard. It's a saturated, pond-studded habitat we call wet high marsh, more diverse and food-rich than drier parts of our expanding high marsh zone. Like at Widgeon Ponds and Fish Creek Delta, these perennial puddles are hard-bottomed. Compaction is an unsolved puzzle. In a few weeks, they'll be bustling as migrants flood through. For now, they only host trumpeter swans and hundreds of clamoring geese who start probing and bathing and mating as ice releases their courtship grounds. Before building yet another road, let's tally our hundreds of roadless blessings. Ben Goldfarb has a new bestseller called Crossings. Interviews with roadkill historians, grizzly overpass architects, and logging road exterminators. Healers of road disease and their kids and grandkids have lifetime job security. The essential insight of road ecology is this: roads warp the earth in every way and at every scale, from the polluted soils that line their shoulders to the skies they besmog. They taint rivers, invite poachers, tweak genes. They manipulate life's fundamental processes: pollination, scavenging, sex, and death. Áak'w Aaní's tidal centerpiece has lost fingers, toes, maybe a limb or two, but it's never been drawn and quartered. Part of its magnetism is free flow of seawater, sediment, sand lance, zooplankton, and surface skimming scoter parades. Causeway removers around the world aspire to reclaim this unfettered connectivity.